Karen had no idea she was destroying her life when she shattered Jamal's glasses and called him a menace. She didn't realize he was the son of her boss. Soon, her actions went viral, and the city rallied behind Jamal. How things unfolded will shock even the most seasoned. But let's start from the beginning. In a quiet suburb of Chicago, life had always been peaceful, until an incident set off a chain of events that would have far-reaching consequences. Jamal, a 17-year-old black teenager, was walking down the street with his friends when they stopped at a corner store. Jamal, an avid lover of music and tech, was in the market for a new pair of glasses. As he glanced into the store window, he noticed a pair that caught his eye and decided to head inside. Inside the store was Karen, a middle-aged, overweight woman with a permanent scowl on her face. She appeared ordinary, but her demeanor was far from it. The moment she noticed Jamal and his friends walking in, her eyes narrowed with suspicion. Karen seemed to take issue with their presence, as if their mere existence was an offense. She slammed her hand on the shelf she was standing near and turned sharply, preparing to leave the store. But when she saw Jamal standing in her path, she froze. "Excuse me, do you think you can just stand there and block my way?" Karen snapped, her voice dripping with contempt. Jamal, adjusting his glasses on his nose, tried to explain that he was just walking through. But before he could say anything more, Karen grabbed his glasses off his face with a violent motion and smashed them on the floor, shattering the lenses into pieces. "Ugh, you're nothing but a menace, a threat to everyone around here," she shouted, her face flushed with rage. Jamal stood frozen in shock, unable to process what had just happened. His friends were equally stunned, not knowing whether to intervene or stay silent. But Karen was already walking away, muttering under her breath about how people like him were ruining their neighborhood. Jamal could feel the sting of her words deep in his chest. This wasn't just about the glasses. This was about something much bigger. It was about the way she saw him, as nothing more than a threat because of the color of his skin. As Karen disappeared out the door, Jamal stood there for a moment, completely still, trying to make sense of what had just happened. He had never been directly confronted with such blatant racism, and the feeling of being dehumanized hit him harder than he could have imagined. Jamal's mind raced as he walked home. The incident replayed in his head over and over again. Karen's words, the way she treated him like an animal, the way his glasses had been destroyed. He couldn't shake the feeling of injustice that had settled in his gut. He tried to brush it off, telling himself it was just one ignorant person. But deep down, he knew this was bigger than just one woman. When he got home, his mother could see something was wrong. She asked him what happened, and as he told her about the incident, her face turned from concerned to furious. "You should have reported her right then and there, Jamal," she said, her voice steady but filled with an undercurrent of pain. "People like her don't get to treat you like that." But Jamal wasn't sure how to respond. He felt embarrassed, like he was overreacting, like maybe it wasn't worth making a scene. But his mom pushed him to stand up for himself, reminding him that his dignity was worth more than a pair of glasses. The next day, Jamal's father, a prominent lawyer in the city, heard about what happened. His anger mirrored Jamal's mother's, but there was also something else in his eyes. Something that told Jamal his father had dealt with this kind of thing before. Jamal's father made a few calls, and soon, the incident was being discussed by local media. The story of the black teen who'd had his glasses destroyed by an angry white woman was starting to make waves. Jamal was reluctant at first, but as he saw the support pouring in from his friends and the community, he began to feel the power of solidarity. People were demanding accountability, and they weren't letting this woman's actions slide. What Jamal didn't know was that the backlash was just beginning, and soon, Karen's life would be turned upside down in ways she never expected. As the days went by, the story of the incident exploded across social media. Videos of Karen's outburst and Jamal's shattered glasses flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. People were quick to rally behind Jamal, using the hashtag #JusticeForJamal to spread awareness about the racist attack. The outrage was palpable. Posts from all over the country condemned Karen's actions, sharing their own stories of discrimination and demanding accountability. Karen the Menace became a viral trend, with users expressing their shock and disgust at the blatant racism displayed in the video. Within hours, the local news picked up the story, amplifying the outrage even further. Jamal's face, filled with pain and disbelief, became a symbol of how racial prejudice could manifest in everyday life. People from all walks of life, celebrities, activists, everyday citizens, showed support, with some even organizing peaceful protests in the community. But while the digital uproar grew, so did the pressure on Karen. What she didn't know was that Jamal was the son of one of the businessman's closest associates, a man she had worked with for years. The businessman, a wealthy entrepreneur who owned several local businesses, received a barrage of phone calls and emails from his colleagues and customers, condemning Karen's actions. His reaction was swift. He was furious. The idea that one of his employees would act so recklessly and disrespectfully, especially toward the son of someone he trusted, was unforgivable. By the time Karen was called into her boss's office, the damage to her reputation had already been done. She sat across from him, still unaware of the full extent of her mistake. His voice was firm and cold as he delivered the final blow. "What you did to that boy, Karen, that's not just a personal failure. It's a reflection on all of us," he said, his disappointment evident. "We don't tolerate that kind of behavior here." Karen tried to protest, but it was too late. Her job, and any hope of redemption, had slipped away. The media coverage surrounding Jamal's experience didn't just stop at the local level. News outlets from across the country picked up the story, and Jamal found himself becoming a symbol for the fight against racial injustice. Interviews, public appearances, and even a community rally in his honor followed. Meanwhile, Karen's life spiraled further. She became the subject of ridicule and mockery online, with memes and videos mocking her outburst. Her former friends distanced themselves from her, and she found herself alone, facing the consequences of her actions. But it wasn't just her world that had changed. Jamal had gone through a transformation as well. The boy who once stood frozen in shock had grown into a confident young man, determined to use his voice for change. He had learned that standing up for himself didn't just mean defending his own dignity. It meant fighting for the dignity of others, like him. Jamal's father, too, was proud of his son. He had always known that his son had the strength to rise above adversity. But now, he could see that Jamal was going to make a difference in the world. And for Karen, as the weight of her actions settled in, she was forced to confront the truth of who she was, and perhaps, for the first time, begin to understand the harm caused by her own prejudices. The story ended not with a simple victory, but with a powerful moment of growth for both Jamal and Karen. While Jamal's journey toward justice had only just begun, Karen's path had led her to a place of reckoning. The question now was whether she would change or continue to be a product of her own hatred. Only time would tell.